So welcome everybody to tonight's Simplify Motherhood webinar given by Country Doulas. My name is Allison Rollins and I am a doula and a health coach. I love teaching childbirth ed and helping support couples as they transition into parents in those first couple of weeks and months and even into that first year. I hope that you'll join us tonight or in the recorded version to really get some tips and tricks to make that time just a little bit easier. It is very challenging at times and a wonderful experience at other times. I always tell people that parenthood is the hardest job that you will ever do, but the most rewarding. So glad that you join us tonight. Welcome. I'm really just honored to be able to support moms and their partners as they go through this time and helping you to kind of be the best version of yourself when you start that family. So whether you are pregnant, planning to become pregnant, or you maybe already welcomed your precious little one into the world, you are bound to discover a few handy tips and tricks to simplify the transition to your parenthood with those little ones by your side. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is such a key piece of part of being able to navigate the world and getting some fresh air. And those first few weeks that we have little ones, first few days and weeks are really spent like in sort of this coveted snuggling time where you're on the couch, you know, pretty much feeding baby is a full-time job. So feeding and changing diapers and caring for them and getting some self-care in there for yourselves. We are pretty much kind of slaves to those little ones' needs. And with all that sleep deprivation, the great outdoors can really be a great refuge for us, and not only for us physically, but also our mental health. So let's talk about how important fresh air can be. The breeze, the wind, the visuals that stimulate us for outside and connect us with the natural world, the sunshine and vitamin D that we get, just a change of scenery from that space indoors that you're in can really be those first steps of feeling like you're human again. Especially if you've had to spend a lot of time and haven't gotten out, or maybe haven't had a lot of visitors, those kind of things. In this time with the COVID-19, we are going to be even more cautious about having visitors and being in contact with other people. But one of the joys is really being able to get out. We can still maintain social distancing. We can protect and take care of ourselves. And one of the things I say that is really important when we think about that is to make sure that you have the right resources of understanding the impact to the COVID-19 virus. There's some really good resources at CDC and evidence-based birth /COVID-19. You can get the most up-to-date information. And for the most part, what they found is that women and infants are not as likely to get it. But if they do, there's not a huge threat of it being life-threatening. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that fresh air. It's also not only good for you, but it can also be good for baby. The weather can kind of help stimulate them, gives them a change of scenery, and babies really can change their whole mood sometimes when you just step out, even if it's just stepping out on the porch. One of the things that I think is really key for parents is to consider your mental health. And when I talk to moms and dads, it's really important to know that the number one complication of pregnancy and childbirth is perinatal and mood and anxiety disorders. Most of those present themselves as anxiety and sometimes depression, sometimes OCD and different other things. But 1 in 5 women, 1 in 5 to 7 women will experience it, and 1 in 10 dads. So it's really important to understand and know if you're at risk or have higher risk factors for that. I do have a wonderful webinar that I did. It's called, oh goodness, I think it's PMADS, but you can find that on our YouTube channel to learn a little bit more about that. So getting out can be that wonderful help factor when we're talking about changing our scenery and needing a break. If you feel like you need a break from your baby, then have your partner watch your baby and you get out. Or if you really feel super anxious about that. I would say that, you know, in this time, you're not going to have as many people coming up to you with a baby. And a wonderful way to help offset people impacting you during this time is to wear your baby. So have your baby in a safe carrier that is appropriate for their size, and people are less likely to come into your space if that's a concern. It's a great way to switch that up. So sharing experiences. In this time, a lot of our shared experiences are going to be virtual, but if you once we get past the COVID-19 outbreak, being able to share your experiences is a great way to feel a little bit human and I guess in the ranges of normal. When we share experiences in the group that I lead, we really talk a lot about, you know, what are your struggles? What are you really struggling with? We're all going to have different things that are kind of press down on us when we become parents. That could be just that lack of sleep. You may be the person that needs like 7 or 8 hours of sleep to function really well. And so you're struggling with how to get that. You may be somebody who really needs to have a shower time or exercise time. So everybody's different, but being able to share your experiences with what you're going through with your partner, with your family, with new parents that you meet through groups and that kind of thing are really helpful. We really feel kind of overwhelmed often, and you know, trying to get to know our baby. Sometimes you don't feel a specific immediate bond with your baby, and that can be totally normal. We don't all have that kind of immediate connection with our baby. So give yourself time to get connected and spend time with your baby. Bonding with your baby, doing skin to skin can be a great way. And honoring your need for self-care. So you are not a bad parent if you need to have more space from your baby. You need to have that daily shower. You need to have a daily walk away. Do not put that guilt. We put a lot of guilt on ourselves as women and as parents. So take a step back from that and know that you can be a better parent when you're able to know what you need and ask for what you need. A couple of things, like I said, that you can do to accelerate that bonding process, incorporating baby into something that you love. So maybe you get a good jogger stroller, or maybe you, on your walks, wear your baby with you. So kind of connecting and sharing, and as your child grows, being able to share your own loves with them can be a really great way to not only give your children the gift of engaging with things that you love, but also just helping you feel more confident and connected with that child of yours. I often tell people this in group, but my children are 23, 21, and 17. And for many years after they got big enough that I could go to the grocery store without them, I would be driving my cart around the grocery store and I would just be chatting. Like I still had a kid sitting in that space in the grocery cart. And one of the things I think that connects us to our kids is just our natural conversations that come out. And a lot of us naturally will do that, even when our babies can't talk to us. So it's a great way to share language and to help your child learn language when they're able to see you and hear you. It's a great language booster for your children. So another great way. Babies can connect with you for that skin to skin. And I tell this for partners as well as moms, that moms often worry about getting baby to hang out and do tummy time, which is an important developmental play time that helps your baby to develop a lot of musculature in the needed areas for them to be able to crawl and walk and sit up and those types of things. But that doesn't have to be separate from you. You can actually do tummy time with your baby on your chest. And the wonderful thing about that is that your voice is right there. And so they are much more likely to engage and be happy in that space, being cozy on you and on your body. And you can just talk to them while they're there. And even like dads who have deeper voices, that really, that vibration is really soothing to baby for sure. And they hear our heartbeats. It's a really great thing. So just a couple of different things. Another thing I tell people is we're so kind of taught that baby back to sleep. So there's a big campaign that happened about a decade or more ago for your baby to make sure that they're safe and prevent what we call sudden infant death syndrome, to have your baby on their back to sleep. And so sometimes we take that to all aspects of children, time with your baby. I often tell parents that I don't know many babies at all that really enjoy getting their diaper changed and being on their back. Babies have so many different reflexes as newborns, and one of theirs is called the Mara reflex. So when they're on their backs, they are going to startle, and their hands are going to go out. And so when they're upset and being changed on the diaper station, I tell parents, put a hand on their chest, roll them to their side, even over to their belly, because you're not putting them down on their belly to sleep. You're just doing that to calm them. So sometimes we can learn little tips and tricks like that. Also singing to them or doing something that is a shared experience with your baby can be really awesome. And they're the best listeners, right? They're always going to listen to us. If you have any activities that you really enjoyed sharing with your baby, if you already have your baby, definitely share those with us in the chat bar. All right. All right. So thinking about all those baby books that you have and you're ready to read to your baby, but they're not physically able to necessarily read them. Someone said the other day, I was talking to them about reading in utero. Babies can actually hear while they're in utero. And so they love hearing your voice. And if you feel uncomfortable talking to your baby, that's a great way, especially partners can do it too, is to get out at night and read to your baby. I had a couple who recently were sharing that they started doing that when their baby was little, and then they continued doing that with their child, even when they were a newborn, just sharing that experience together. Think about incorporating baby into your passions. We mentioned this before. So like hiking, sometimes it is important to consider what we love. And when we're talking about buying specific things for a baby, sometimes investing in something that you know that you want to do with your baby, and then getting the resources, getting the support from people who are familiar with that, helping you to feel comfortable in that, whether that's hiking with your baby, wearing your baby doing some outings or traveling with your baby. I know that that's not necessarily something that everyone's thinking about right now, but definitely those are things that can really help you connect shared experiences with your baby, like swimming and those kind of things. If you want to, in the chat bar, feel free to put some things that you'd really love, some of your loves that you'd really like to share with baby. And thinking about planning for the future, I think that it is important for us as parents to stay flexible. So sometimes when we've been hoping for a baby for a really long time, we get lots of plans and things and ideas that we want to do. And I think it's really important to have those goals and ideas, but also to stay flexible in them and know that, you know, each child that you have is a unique creature on their own, and they may or may not be necessarily as excited about things as you are. And I know from raising 3 children of my own that they're all very different. And sometimes they teach us so much. We grow so much when we become parents. Our children are pretty much our best teachers for sure. So just stay open and flexible with that, and kind of have ideas and wishes, but not anything rigid. I think it really helps us to stay flexible as parents. All right. Let's talk about that importance of partners in that role of parenthood. Babies are incredibly good at turning our worlds upside down. And this can put a huge, huge stress on our relationships with our partners. I don't know any couple who haven't felt stress shifting into parenthood. And I tell people this when I teach childbirth ed, that when we look at divorce rates, having a baby is a time when there's a huge separation and divorce rate, because it's such a stressful time. And so setting yourself up with the right understanding of how that's going to be, the sort of realities, and maintaining great communication with your partner. As mothers and as fathers, we will be kind of hormonal. We'll still be in a hormonal. And the hormones that are running through our body are the hormones that help us bond with our babies. But they're also there to help keep us bonding. So that is a wonderful benefit of it naturally that we have. When we kind of have those wishes and images of how that time home is going to be with baby, we sometimes don't have the same images in our head. And we come from 2 different ways of being parented. And so how we think things are may not be like how our partner experienced them. So one of the things I tell parents is to, within that flexibility, be flexible with how your partner goes about parenting. The way that they feed the baby or the way that they do diaper changes may be a little different than you do, right? But it's not wrong. And like I said before at the beginning of this webinar, there's no, one way to parent. And one of the benefits of having 2 parents is that baby learns different ways, different views of the world through us and our interactions with us. So it's not all butterflies and unicorns for us or our partners, right? And sometimes as parents, we can become jealous of our partners, especially I find this happens a lot with dads. Moms often, especially if you're breastfeeding, or just the fact that you carried your baby for 9 months, sometimes babies feel a little calmer in our arms, and dads may have less time with, or partners may have less time holding and caring and comforting that baby. And so sometimes baby gets fussy, right? And that causes jealousy feelings that they are not able to soothe baby or don't have that role of feeding baby. So one of the things I tell parents is to praise each other for the effort that you see your partner doing in parenting, and whether that's um, helping out by bringing you water while you're sitting and nursing your baby, whether that's fixing you a snack, whether that's noticing that baby needs a change and connecting that, making sure the monitor's on when you put baby down, offering to let you have some self-care time. Just really be grateful to each other, because you're both probably sleep deprived for the most part, some more than others, but it can be challenging. And when we are used to having all the sleep that we want and we get shifted into this time where we don't have as much, I think it's like we're both sort of like burning the candle with both ends. So we can be grouchy and we can be grumpy and not really say things that we don't really mean, or use tones of voices that we don't really mean. So thinking about knowing that that's going to be there is one thing. And then what I tell, new parents is that oftentimes keeping that line of communication open, being honest about how you're feeling, or if you're frustrated with something that your partner is doing or not doing, using eye language, those kind of things can be super helpful. And just being aware of that and asking for what you need. One of the things that I think is key is that I say this, we as in women, I work with women a lot. And so sometimes, and I'm a mother of 3 people and married. So sometimes I would get upset with my husband because he wouldn't do something or wouldn't see that something needed to be done, right? And I just made these assumptions that he saw these same things that I saw that needed to be done. And as a nursing mother, I often had to be sitting and nursing. And so I think it would frustrate me that things wouldn't be getting done and taken care of while I was nursing because I couldn't do it. And I also didn't ask for help getting those things done. So trusting your partner and knowing that your partner may not be looking at what you're seeing, we have to be honest and say, I would really love some help getting the room straightened up, or I didn't get to finish laundry. Could you help finish that? Because they do not read our minds. They are not mind readers. So it's really important that we communicate those needs that we have, or maybe communicate those frustrations that we have. Sometimes it's just we need some support, or we need our friend to come over. And that might be, a communication to partners, talking about how we can change our schedule and what's working for you and what's working for me. So crankiness is completely normal, but communication is important. So here's a couple of tips to be able to help you. Getting a good sleep is really necessary. So sometimes just 4 to 5 hour stretches can be huge, especially for nursing moms and for dads, being able to help with diaper changes, bringing baby to mom, those kind of things, so that she can not have to leave the room as much or get as awake and be able to shift back to sleep. Swaddling baby and diapering them and putting them back down can be really helpful. So another option is to sleep in shifts. So if you and your partner think about what's the best time for, or are you a night person? Or are you a morning person? What is your what do you naturally tend to like? you can shift into making a plan where each of you get like a 5-hour stint in a row. Sometimes babies will cluster feed, especially after about 2 weeks, sometimes even before. But in those evening hours from 6 to 10, babies will sometimes eat a lot, especially if they're breastfeeding. So sometimes it's good for dads to go to sleep and let moms stay up and nurse them. And then mom goes down, and then dad is in charge of watching baby. Because sometimes, like, I think this is something that we really don't consider, but sometimes parents don't sleep well because they need somebody to be listening and watching for baby. Like, if they're on and they know that that's their sole job, they're not going to sleep as deeply. And so it like shifting. So it's sometimes called platoon sleeping. Irritability also worsens in general with dehydration. So drinking water, especially if a breastfeeding moms, you're going to get really thirsty. But in general, that missing sleep and having to shift your sleep is going to be really important to make sure that you're getting good nutrition and really well hydrated. So you are what you eat, yes, and eating and snacking with protein, good nutrients, iron and calcium rich foods. Just thinking of a variety of colors on your plate is always a good thing. And enjoying the little things. So schedule me time. So make a plan with your partner to consider what is most important to you. This may not be what actually ends up being your most important thing. So be flexible with that. But like, if you're a person that needs a shower in the morning to get woken up, make that into that schedule and into that routine, and share with your partner that need for you so that you fit that in. If taking a walk is really important, being able to do that. One of the things I think is really key too can be, there's a lot of task within a household that each of you do, and really diving deep into all of those who's going to do what's can be really key and important before baby comes, because it gets overwhelming if you haven't thought about it before. And then that big communicate. So you're a team. Make sure that you're communicating. If you have some emotions that you feel like are not really they keep lingering, I tell women that, because women are more susceptible to this, I tell women that the baby blues, which is those 2 to 3 weeks after you have your baby, it's normal for you to feel shifts in your emotions. So you may cry when you're feeding your baby, crying in happiness. You may feel kind of just sad sometimes. Typically those moments don't last more than an hour or less. They're not something that hang around us day after day and don't seem to let go, like the cloud that kind of hangs over us and just follows us around. It's not like that. If you feel like something more than just the baby blues is happening, reaching out to people who are trained in supporting you, whether that's a counselor, talking to your doula who's trained in it, and getting them to help you get resources, talking to your provider. There's a lot of great support groups out there that can also help. And dads can feel this too. So partners are a part of this, and they can also feel this. It's in a different way, but they are not, they are definitely susceptible to it as well. All right. I hope everybody's having a good time and learning lots. So after baby is born, bonding over meal times, working out, relaxing on the deck together will turn into bonding while helping each other change that. Diapers, right? Taking baby for a walk, cleaning the mashed vegetables from the crevices of the high chair, trying to get the, laundry washed and folded, all those things. As I was talking to, those household things, it is a whole new level of sexy, knowing that you're both in this together and that not even a tiny human can debilitate that relationship and that connection you have. Some things to conquer together as a team can be feeding time. So your partner, even if you're breastfeeding, you can pump your milk and have dad feed your baby. Especially can be helpful once your breastfeeding is well established, and dad can do one of those shifts at night, so mom can get not just 2 to 3 hour stretches, but actually a 4 to 5 hour stretch. So just even if you want the rest of the time for your baby to be fed from the breast, that can be really helpful. So another great thing, bathing. So one person cleans, right, the baby, or preps it, and then one person dries. Appointments. So not only will you have a couple appointments after for postpartum with your OB or midwife, but you'll have lots and lots of pediatrician appointments. So sometimes deciding who's taking care of that, making sure that that happens, spending time with other family members. So there's a lot of people who want to have connection with you and your little ones, whether that's grandparents or aunties or uncles of your babies, or good friends. Taking care of each other. So making sure that you spend time, and sometimes that's getting a babysitter or somebody to come in and watch and take care of the baby so that you can go for a walk together, go for breakfast, go out for coffee, even if it's a short little snack. I tell people, just think about what you're comfortable with and start with that. Start with small. One of the glories really of parenthood is learning how to cherish every moment with the ones that you love. You'll stop taking free time for granted, for sure, and instead learn how to make the most of every second. Your children, once they start talking, will share with you all of the great moments of life too. And thinking about this, if you've already had your little one, how have you noticed that your relationship with your partner has changed after baby? Or how has it changed in pregnancy? Are you doing things to work as a team together? Thinking about those things. New mothers often get wrapped in a constant schedule of feeding, changing, and snuggling baby, or helping baby go off to sleep. So much so that they forget life beyond that front door. This is definitely more prevalent in the winter time, but it also can be that way in times like the COVID-19. So when we have kind of those fears of going out. Once you are approved and confident enough to drive to your OB, try and incorporate adventures into, excuse me, once you are approved to be able to drive, if that's a restriction at all, try to incorporate adventures into your daily routines. Sometimes, whether that it's going to be like a trip out to go shopping, okay, or laps around a local park, even to visit a neighbor or a friend, maybe even getting out of your pajamas. So as a new mom, sometimes we don't get out of our pajamas. That is one of the things that we can experience as new parents, which sometimes can be a really good thing. Loading up the stroller with and cherishing the joys of trotting around your new beautiful baby or girl. Where would be some places for you that you could go every day to change the scenery? So thinking about that and planning for that can be really helpful. And if there are places that are not closed during COVID-19, I know some parks are closed, but sometimes linear greenways are not closed, or hiking trails, or just maybe yard space, like thinking about changing your home to be able to accommodate you to be able to get out outside your house with baby. Can be a really good thing. All right, we mentioned taking care of yourself in many of the previous conversations that we've had, but it is incredibly easy to forget our own needs as parents. We are so focused on making sure baby is good and doing well and thriving that sometimes we forget to eat, drink, even use the bathroom because we are hyper focused on this new baby. So this is completely normal. So this behavior is not something that most parents all experience, right? Putting our own needs aside too long can really hurt us both physically and emotionally. And being a team and partnership and having someone there to help you, making sure that when you sit down to feed the baby, if you're breastfeeding, that you have a bottle of water or a glass of water there and some snacks you can get into and your phone, whatever it is, a nail file, just some different things that you have, a book that you are reading, taking care of yourself and making sure that you really asking yourself, am I getting what I need? I often use the analogy, and if you've been in a class before with me, you probably heard this, but when you fly and the stewardess tells you that all the safety precautions, she's going to say, if you're a parent, be sure and put the oxygen mask on yourself before putting it on baby. Why is that, right? If we would pass out before we get from lack of oxygen, our babies would never get it. So that's one of the things. And as an experienced mother, I can say that when moms go down, the world stops in the household and everybody's, sort of access to care and support and resources kind of goes down. So moms, we really need to take care of ourselves, dads and partners as well. But it is important to take time to get the self-care that we need. Sometimes that's just brushing our teeth, right? Or getting that shower. If you notice your partner being constantly overwhelmed, dehydrated, and getting so hungry that their hunger passes, so this is a common thing. So we are so caught up in taking care of ourselves that we get hungry and then it passes. Maybe you're like haven't changed your clothes in a couple days. This is totally normal. So asking for some help and having somebody come in that you feel comfortable with coming in. As a postpartum doula, this is what I do because being a new parent is just overwhelming. And during the COVID-19, we are offering postpartum virtual doula sessions, but we hope to be connecting back with parents and doing in-home support for you as well, being able to give you that nap that you need, let you take that shower, because we are all trained in taking care of newborns and new parents. That is our biggest love, and that's what we do best. Right. So think about this. If you haven't had your baby, think about what is important to you. How would you, if you had 15 or 20 minutes, what would you do if in the day you only had 15 to 20 minutes? Sometimes it's helpful to think about that before having a baby so that you kind of have an idea of what's going to be really important to you in that self-care time. So I'm sure you've heard this before. Usually people say sleep when the baby sleeps, but this is sleep when possible, right? The most common phrase probably told to parents. But it is really true. You do need sleep, and you're going to be losing sleep in the night, which is the time when we get the most restorative sleep, right, in the nighttime, both ourselves and our little ones. So protecting that sleep is really important. And making your nighttime as quiet and as amenable to sleep as possible with as little kind of interruptions and bright lights and those kind of things, I really guarantee that you will feel the urge to do things like clean the dishes and do the laundry, let those puppy dogs out, or feed your kitten. um, Call somebody that you feel like you haven't talked to in a while, that maybe you don't want to call, but you feel responsible to call. Doing literally anything that makes you feel productive, because we are in a society where we feel like we are not valued if we are not producing. And that is really a harmful value when it comes to being a new parent. One of the analogies that I tell parents all the time is that this, to everything there is a season, right? And within those seasons, right, are a time of giving and a time of receiving. So when we are able to give, like, think about people who are older and retired, that is a time when they have the time to be able to volunteer. They're one of our biggest volunteer populations, as well as college. Kids who are in college have more free time. They're able to volunteer and do those types of things. When you are a new parent, you are not going to be volunteering for extra things. You're not going to be like able to give extra of yourself. And in fact, we really have to pull back from what if you're a working parent and you're off on, you are not going to be able to work even part-time for most parents. And there are those unique babies who are just easy, but I tell parents, don't think that you can work from home in your maternity leave. So really important to think about. So those thank you notes can wait, right? And those dishes can get done when your next visitor comes in, and you could say, oh, would you please do my dishes for me? I would love that. People want to help us. I mean, we are drawn to help support new parents. And it is not that you're not being a good parent by asking for that support. You're actually being a great parent, because when you ask for the help, when people are going to offer you help, but sometimes parents don't have that. So doulas are often there to help fill in the gaps, and sometimes we have to ask for it. Some people are cautious about offering to help new parents, and I think that you have to use your best judgment and make sure that people are well and those kind of things. But it can be really, really super important. Sometimes that might be a time to make sure your garbage, like pay for garbage delivery, go to paper plates, maybe get a laundry service, different things that you can do to be able to help that time go easier, because you're both going to be losing lots and lots of sleep. We talked about that platoon sleeping, so getting shifts of 5 hours. We also haven't talked about this, but I think this is really helpful for a lot of parents, is to go ahead and, if possible, allow one of you to sleep in. And this is typically mom, if she's nursing in the night and she hasn't slept well. Dad, get up with baby at 6 o'clock and play with baby and, till 8 o'clock. So mom can get 2 good hours of sleep that she normally wouldn't get. So key. And even though we really have a hard time sleeping during the day, things that can help can be getting blackout curtains or using a sleep mask. Because typically most adults are not used to taking naps or sleeping when it's light out. So think about those things that can be helpful for you. White noise machines can be just as helpful for parents as they can for little ones. So don't step on the scale, as you are likely not to like the numbers that are glaring back at you after you have a baby. It's healthy to gain weight during pregnancy, and the chances you haven't eaten anything but ice chips in labor, let's be honest, hospital food is pretty gross. So it makes sense that the scale is going to be a little bit higher than normal. You haven't maybe eaten the best during your stay at the hospital. And they have kind of high caloric, low tasting foods for the most part. I love labor and delivery nurses and wards, but usually the food is not great. So you need not worry about your weight, really. It will continue to kind of drop off as your body readjusts both physically and mentally to the new life. It is crucial to note that you should not be dieting. So we do, as if you were a breastfeeding mom, you are going to have about 500 extra calories, not from pregnancy, but from pre-pregnancy. So you'll eat about 500 extra calories to be able to produce milk. Not be able to, but that will be your caloric need. Even though your body will naturally has fat stores if you didn't get all the way up to 500 calories. So it's kind of our buffering. Eat really wisely, sweets like dark chocolates can be good. Foods that are naturally high in healthy fats, such as avocado, olive oil, salmon can be great foods. Nuts like walnuts can be great foods, not only for yourself, for making milk, but also for baby's brain development. Really can be super key. Also for mom's brain, because you're having such a shift with your hormones to help support your brain health is a great thing. You're going to need lots of proteins, foods with calcium and iron, lots of those wonderful colorful plates, right? Colorful plates. So don't feel guilty about partaking in some ice cream or some dark chocolate. The biggest thing I think is having food kind of like a toddler would eat, like snacking throughout the day. You're probably already doing this during pregnancy, right? Because we get hungry during pregnancy. We can't go like we used to, like 4 hours, 5 hours between eating. Your body is growing a baby. It's like demanding that you eat. So you're going to just be on that mode, and you're just going to stay on that mode with post-baby and just eat to hunger. I always tell people that portion size is about the size of your fist, right? So if you have trouble with portion control, that's a really good way to be able to understand how much is the right amount for me. And you could eat a huge plate of like salad and greens, and then think about filling your plate with mostly vegetables and really dense caloric foods, or foods with higher nutritional value, which would be avocados, eggs, things like this that are on this plate, but also trying not to fill it with, I guess, not high nutritional value foods. So definitely snacking can be a problem sometimes, because we may not have the foods that we need available when we're hungry, and so we overeat the wrong things. So definitely making a plan of eating with intention, creating maybe some ideas of good snacks, having that listed out on your refrigerator or nearby, so that when you need a snack, that people can look and see what you've got available. All right, a couple of good things to snack on: whole grain crackers with hummus, nuts, whole grain cereal with low-fat milk, a hard-boiled egg, carrots, low-fat cheese with a piece of fruit, peanut butter on an apple, plain Greek yogurt with some fresh fruit, or dehydrated fruit works really well in yogurt too. You want to just really avoid those refined carbs like white breads, sugary foods. They will make you feel really extra tired, and not really fill us with the good things. All right. Being new mothers should not stop you from being active. Okay. In fact, it is recommended to be up and moving as soon as physically comfortable to be doing so, even and especially after a cesarean section. And while you shouldn't dive straight into doing like jumping jacks or planks or sit-ups after giving birth, starting a short routine of simple walks or strolls out in your yard with your baby is really good. It's good for your physical health and your mental health, for both you and your partner. It provides you with that fresh air that we spoke about, vitamin D, a change of scenery. If you're not able to get out, there are some great virtual yoga classes. Fitpregnancy.com has some good stuff. There's lots of wonderful online options to be able to get moving, and you can do these together if you're home with your partner. Sometimes having some home weights at home can be really helpful to get some stuff going. You do want to check with your provider so that they've cleared you before you begin those types of more strenuous exercise. And don't not go be active because you can't do what you were able to do before. So thinking about that in short little bursts, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, go ahead and do it. Don't do it because you don't have an hour. Don't put it off. But typically during your 6 to 8 week visit, your doctor will kind of talk to you about that. In your 2 week visit, if you have a 2 week visit, talk to your provider about your pelvic floor and health. There are a lot of wonderful providers who are recommending pelvic floor therapy, and sometimes even have in-office pelvic floor therapy. I think it can be really valuable for us to have that and understand what that the things that you can do to help support that, as that whole perineal area does take a big hit during labor and birth. Ask a friend to get active with you. It doesn't have to be a mom who has a baby too. It can just be a friend. And it will definitely improve how you feel when you're able to get out and move around. So I'm going to touch again on the subject that I mentioned before, because it doesn't matter how courageous or independent, how strong, how educated you are, perinatal mood and anxiety disorders happens to the best of us. This can often be confused with what I mentioned earlier, which is the baby blues. And typically, most parents find that what they feel is either depression or sadness. Sometimes it can come out. Anxiety is obsessive compulsive. Those are all in the ranges of normal. It can be really debilitating. And with the natural guilt that we have and stresses and worries of being a new parent, we feel overwhelmed. We feel inadequate. We feel guilty. A lot of times we can not understand what's going on with us, right? And we think that what we're feeling is normal. And it is in the ranges of normal. It is very treatable. And parents who are able to get the support that they need early on typically get better really quickly. So whether that's going to be counseling, whether that's going to be seeing your provider or a trained provider that can prescribe some medications for you. Going to group therapy. There's lots of different resources that we have here in our region to be able to support you. So the earlier that you get that support, the earlier you get connected with groups, with a counselor. Typically doulas know a lot about that. I'm trained and I have several people on my team who are also trained. So definitely reach out and know that it is normal. Never feel that you are outside of the ranges of normal. This is a totally normal thing to have happen. So, and sometimes it can be small, like you just need a little bit, and sometimes it can be really big, like an elephant on your chest. So all of those things can be happen, and it's a very different mental health thing than other types of mental health issues. It's treated differently. If you do have pre-existing mental health issues or concerns, you could be at more risk for it. So that is something to think about and make a plan for. But definitely reach out to us if you have questions in the different areas in the Tri-Cities, Cherish Moms, and the Mountain Area Health Alliance. We have a wonderful, they have some wonderful support groups and providing prescribing and counseling providers. I have lots of resources for the North Carolina region and the mountains of North Carolina. So definitely reach out to us and we can help you get connected with the support that you need during that time. The last tip that I want to leave with you is something that I really want you to pledge. Do not ever compare yourself. It doesn't matter what your best friend swears by, what the mother of two said in that mom's group, what your mother-in-law tells you, or what any kind of social media or commercial depicts. Everyone's parenting style is completely different. So you have your own unique journey in parenting in your own right ways. We all make that journey on our own, and we are the only ones who are up at 2 a.m. with our little ones. So you do what is best for yourself and your family. I can guarantee that no two mothers agree on every topic exactly the same, and that is what makes your parenting journey so sublime. There's more than one way to raise healthy and happy children. You guys are going to do amazing. Just trust your instincts, get the support you need, and know the resources, and get connected with them sooner than later. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really love helping support parents to have a happier and healthier experience, both in their prenatal, but also in their postpartum. And we are here as a resource. We have lots of wonderful webinars and recorded webinars on our YouTube channel that you can check out. So there's always something new to learn. If you're interested, dive in. If it's not your thing, step back, let your doula and support people be there to help you when and if you need that resource. So each of us are different. Some of us want to know it all. Some of us just want to have somebody who knows it all and they can count on that person when they need it. So, or maybe you are that both person. You want to learn everything and you want to have your doula. So we are here to help support you. Feel free to reach out to us via email at info@highcountrydoulas.com or at 828-278-8949. Again, my name is Allison, and I am one of the owners of High Country Doulas. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I hope that you enjoyed the class. Nope.